Hello, Caro and Dano. First of all, a big welcome into the Mindful Movement Program. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for sending me the short video clip of your son. That was really, really helpful. What I saw was this incredible amount of potential, and I'm just super excited that you're here and willing to explore these gentle movements with your son right at home. So first of all, wondering where to start because the program is so large and so big, and I don't want you to get too overwhelmed. So I will give you a list of videos of what to start with. So start with, first of all, the head control section, and he might have good head control in sitting or even in your arms. You might be like, oh, well, he has head control. Why do I need to do the head control section? It's a really, really great section to start with the basics, and a really, really great way to understand in your head that the head, the spine, and the pelvis work together to lay the foundation for almost all of our functional movements. So head control, for really good head control, our brains need to know how to coordinate the pelvis, the spine, and the head all together. And we also need our brains to know how to coordinate all these parts for head control, rolling over, independent sitting, coming up into a crawling position, coming up into standing position, and and walking. So all of our functional movements, how we're designed to move, like our skeleton systems are designed to move, can be improved when our brains have a better body map and a better coordination of our pelvis, our entire spine, and our head. So go to that. So that all said, take a look at that head control section, try some of the movements, incorporate those movements into your everyday life. I show you how to pick your child up, kind of interesting, fun little things to do while they're sitting in your lap. So those are things that you can kind of incorporate into your everyday life, and it's going to help their brain improve that connection between moving their head, moving their entire spine, and their pelvis all together. Okay, so that's number one. I would look over that. Number two, the rolling over section, because the clip that you kind of sent me was him figuring out how to roll over. And I loved seeing he was so engaged with you. His laughing and his smiles at you were just a beautiful thing to see. So you obviously have a beautiful connection with him. Keep continuing that, being playful. It was really lovely to see. So he's connected with you. He's communicating with you. Keep doing all of that stuff. It's all wonderful stuff. So what I did see when he was trying to move and roll himself over to look at the toy, etc. What I noticed was so common with it's almost all of our kids I see have this issue. My own daughter had this issue, and almost all of our kids have this issue, is that when they first learn to move, their brain kind of forgets about their legs and they learn to move using this top chunk here, and they learn to use it through a lot of force and kind of flinging it around. So instead of their brain knowing that they have a head and all of these amazing vertebrae and the pelvis that can work together, they kind of they're used to forcing their way through life and forcing their way to do things, and they end up being really stiff and spastic and chronically contracted in this section here, and they kind of throw their upper body around. Maybe an arm will come over to, and they learn how to kind of roll over that way. And you can see in me the difference between, like, if I was trying to turn to look at something and reach something, and I'm kind of contracted and I'm using all of my effort to turn my entire body as one unit, one chunk to try and reach it, versus my brain knows how to organize my body in all of the different pieces, and I can reach with my arm, my head can follow, all of my spine spirals, and my pelvis follows as well. That's a very different movement than, trying to kind of force your way through life, through a movement, such as rolling over, etc. So the more quality information you can give their brain about where their head and their spine and all of their body parts fit together and how they move together, how they're connected together. And that's going to help him learn to roll over much more efficiently, much more smoothly when he uses his whole body. When his brain knows that he has an entire body, all of those lovely little vertebrae and ribs can move independent, and it's not just one chunk. So go check out the rolling over section, and there's videos in there that kind of break that down, differentiating and distinguishing the movement of the pelvis and the ribs, how they can move separate and together, and kind of the sequence of events that happen as you roll over. Okay, so go check out that rolling section. And just to add on one more thing, super common in almost all of our kids to use this as one chunk and kind of throw it around, moving from this contracted chunk, and their brain doesn't know that they have legs and a pelvis that can help them move, right? So on top of those two sections, also check out the arms and legs section, specifically the leg guided videos, and start to wake his brain up to the possibility of his legs. So you can even basically just start with body mapping the legs and the feet, going really slow, saying hi to them, playing all the, this little piggy went to market games, all the singing song games of mapping the legs, the legs and the feet. But I would also there's videos in there that I can link for you of anything to do with pushing his feet up against you, up against the floor, up against a wall. So anything to do with pushing will really be helpful for his brain to figure out, oh, these are my legs and my feet, and when I push through, something happens. So, and kind of the sequence of events is their brain has to know that, hey, first of all, these limbs are attached to them, and these limbs can be intentionally moved, and these legs can also be used to put a force through them. So I'm pushing into the floor with my heel. You could do the whole foot, you could do the toes, whatever. My foot is pushing into the floor. There's a force traveling up through my leg and into my pelvis, okay? And up through my spine and into my head. So this pushing becomes a full body movement. It's not just banging on the floor like this. I'm isolating this. We eventually want their brain to be able to recognize that pushing through the floor, having a force through the pelvis, up through the spine, into the head. This can be a whole body movement, because this movement here is going to help them to roll over. It's going to help them to come up into sitting, independent sitting. Okay, I'm stabilizing myself in sitting with by pushing through my leg. And my brain is able to organize my whole body to hold me upright. No matter where my head goes, no matter where I reach, I'm using not just this part of my body to stabilize myself, I can also use my feet. And guess what? Feeling that force travel through your whole skeleton system is not just important in rolling over and independent sitting, and it lays the foundation for everything, okay? For crawling, for coming up into standing, and for walking, okay? So you can think of all of these movements, these tiny little movements, as building a really strong foundation for his brain to be able to organize his entire body. And that's gonna make movement effortless for him. And that's what we want. We want our kids to move through life with the least amount of effort and resiliency, right? To be able to recover if you trip on something, or to be able to move around an object. You need to have a brain that knows how to coordinate all of that stuff, your entire body. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful and gives you kind of like the overall theory of what you're kind of looking for when you're watching those videos and those sections. So check out the head control section, keeping in mind that connection between the pelvis, spine, and head. That's what you're going for in that section, laying that foundation. The rolling section, so watching, how does he roll over? Does he just use this this section here is one big chunk. How can you start to help his brain realize that the head can move, each rib can move, the pelvis can move? And you can see right there, if I was lying down on the floor, I can move this chunk only so far as one chunk, but if I can move my head and each vertebrae and the pelvis, all of a sudden I can move with less effort further with more ease. Okay, so he's going to be able to roll over that much easier when his brain knows he has all these parts that can move. And then the third thing is reminding his brain that he has legs attached to a pelvis that is attached to the spine, attached to the head. So by exploring the movement of his legs and his feet, especially pushing through something, pushing off something, you can, you watch those videos and explore that, and that'll be a fantastic start for you, okay? And if you have any more questions, just let me know. And I'm happy, you know, if you get to the next stage and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm stuck now, he's doing these different things, where should I go next? Just send me another video. I'm happy to do another, give you ideas for where to go from there, okay? So happy exploring movement, and we'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.